bonfires burning while your hearts are yearning, though your lads are far away, they dream of home.
So what we're going to do is we're going to make it for you. We're going to demonstrate making for it. Has anybody made this is where everybody puts their hands up now. But has anybody made trench cake before? Long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
So the trench cake was please interrupt if I'm saying it wrong at any point. The trench cake was what was sent out to them in the trenches, hence the name, and it was designed so it could be posted and be quite full of flavour as we possibly could get in those days, I think. And so it was designed. It's a dense cake, should I say, is probably the best way. That the rising agents in it are the recipe is in front of us here. So we literally have milk. There's no eggs. We did have a little bit of sugar in this one. We've got bicarb, butter. Mark's going to demonstrate what the process that we use. So flour and butter. Sorry,
Sue loves to talk. I like to keep quiet and just do all the work. It works.
It's a great relationship we've got.
It works really well in the marriage situation.
Yeah, so we should explain. Mark and I are married, so if there's any abuse that's taught, it's completely acceptable.
And normal in our relationship.
So all we're doing is crumbing down the flour and the butter, same as you do if you're doing like making a crumble mix. So just rubbing it together. I've actually got the butter at room temperature, so it's actually quite easy to work with.
You shouldn't want to work the muscles too much.
In the recipe, it does actually say fat. So or margarine actually was the other one. So fat or margarine was actually put in. It did say /butter, so I went for the butter option. I'm under no illusion it's probably not the butter that we have today, but yeah, that's what we've gone with. So then. So we've got nutmeg and we've also got ginger, which was the key flavours really that were in the trench cake. There's also, which I thought was quite interesting, tiny amount of cocoa powder. This isn't a chocolate cake by any imagination, but I just thought the token bit of that cocoa powder, which I presume was a little bit of something special for them in the trenches. I actually thought that was quite a nice way of doing it. So you can see the amount of ginger to nutmeg to cocoa powder. I actually thought it was quite nice because in this day and age, if you're going to do something chocolatey, it's, chocolate through and through. But I just thought the little nod towards the chocolate was quite nice actually. So all the dry ingredients in.
What is the ratio of flour to fat?
I haven't got my recipe pack. Oh, you've caught me out. I haven't got my recipe pack with me. Is it underneath? Yeah, thank you.
So I think it's half. I think it was 225 grams of flour and 120 grams of butter.
120 was it? Here we go. Yeah, it was. You were right. Well done. Golden star for you. Yeah, so half the amount of butter to flour or margarine or fat or so on and so forth. Then we've got so nutmeg and ginger going in. We've then got the soft brown sugar. Now, in a lot of the recipes that I've read, sugar is it is pretty sparse in a lot of the recipes. So I'm presuming for our men in the trenches, this was quite a big thing to put this amount of sugar in. So there was the sugar. So the sugar, thank you, Mila, 90 grams of sugar. So a fair amount when it's sort of 225 grams of flour. That's quite a lot of sugar, really. Also, the currants or raisins played quite heavily, didn't it, in bringing sweetness to any dishes, because obviously they didn't have the sugar in those days. So we've got raisins there today. Thank you, Mila. Then we've got the bicarbonate of soda, which I'm presuming they use for all sorts. And they had milk and vinegar. So put the vinegar in with the milk, then the bicarb into the milk and vinegar, and then mix together. So that's it. That's all the liquids that there was. There's no eggs, so you can see. I thought this was quite fascinating when I made it today, because yeah, that's the face that I pulled when I read the recipe. It's a good job you're at the front. Camera over here. So there we go. So pour that in.
Activate, yeah.
Activate, yeah, that's it, yeah, exactly. So I thought that was quite. So we're going to pop that in. Is that a little bit thicker than yours this morning? Do you want a little bit more milk? So we made this morning, and and you're actually going to taste this today. Can see all your smiles. You're actually going to taste this today in about sort of half an hour. We're going to cook this one as well, and we noticed when we were putting it together it's quite batter-like. That's probably the best way to describe it. So I'm just going to add a little bit more milk into this because it's not like it was this morning, and since I'm an expert on trench cake now, I use my knowledge. We were actually quite surprised when we put the batter in for the end result, if I'm completely honest. So, but you'll get to see it in a minute, and we're going to hand it round. Did anybody try the Parkin biscuits? You've all got biscuits, I hope, in front of you, and the ones that look rather rustic looking, they are actually the Parkin biscuits, which looked very healthy, shall we say. And that was the other thing that we had a little play around with. But one of the things that I was really fascinated, because obviously when Jane gave me this project to do, it was I had to just sort of do a bit of homework, because I can't really stand in front of you and give you the history side of it, but I can give you from a chef's point of view the textures and the baking processes that we do nowadays to what was done then. And it was quite fascinating when you read a lot of the recipes. It was a teacup full of this and a dash of that. And I loved the cooking temperature for the Parkin biscuits was in a low oven slowly. Okay, great. Brilliant. That's just what every chef wants to read. So it was quite fun when we were reading through them, just to sort of, with the knowledge that we know as chefs, it kind of went right out the window, because as we were chatting this morning, when we're mixing something together, you usually read, your recipe book. If it's got a lovely picture of it, great, you know what the outcome is meant to be. But there's usually some information about what you're looking for. Is it meant to be sticky? Is it meant to be dough-like? Nothing, absolutely nothing. And you can't really go by your gut instincts, because I wouldn't necessarily say this batter type recipe is what we know as a normal cake recipe. So it really was very, very different back then. So we're just going to get the beautiful assistant, I meant Mila, to go down. We're going to bake that in our oven downstairs, and we're going to bring it up, and in a true Blue Peter style, we're going to have some that we made earlier. So this is, I've tried to do this in true style. This is a trench cake that would have got sent and wrapped up in the brown paper. So with love from Eckington today for you all. So this is the trench cake that we've made. So I was quite pleased with the way it came out, actually. So thank you.
Everyone seems
absolutely amazing. Cheers.